This colour combination just really caught my eye today, so I thought I would try it out on a project and see how it would look. And I'm starting with this beautiful bright blue colour and applying it to my page in several different ways. So I've put it on neat, and then I've also thinned it out a little bit with some water, but I'm also using a bit of dry brushing and then a little bit of stencil work as well. So I've got a bit of kitchen sponge that I've just cut up and applying the paint like that. And it's just a great way of adding lots of different textures just with this one colour, so this first layer. And all the products that I've used today are listed below in the description as always, and including the colours that I've used as well. So I'm making sure that I've only got a very small amount of the paint on my sponge before I use it on my project. So I do have kind of a plan of how I want this piece to look when I've finished, but I think it will evolve as I go along as well. And it really is just a test piece to see how this colour combination works together. And once that blue layer had dried, I then started adding the aqua layer. So this is just a gorgeous colour. I really love this colour. Well, you've seen because I use it quite a lot. And for this layer, I want this one to be a little bit thicker, so I'm not going to use as much water, and I will just keep laying the paint until I've got it all nice and covered. And I don't want it to look like it's all in a line either, or a block, so you can see that I'm sort of adding in just a little bit of detail to break up the lines so it isn't just one big block. And then back to some stenciling over the top just to add a nice little counterbalance in that bottom right hand corner to go with that lovely stencil work in the top left hand corner. And you really do want to make sure that you're only adding a really small amount of paint, and you can add more paint as you go along, but it's better to add less and build up. But it does take a little bit of time and a little bit of patience to do it that way round. So once I've done that stencil work, I then let this layer dry completely before adding my next colour. And for my next colour, start adding a complete contrast. So I'm going to go in with some red, and this red is a semi-transparent. So as you can see, once you start adding it over the top of the green, you're going to see that green coming through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it up quite thickly, and there'll be areas where it's quite red, and then there'll be areas where you can see the green coming through the red. And it will just add a nice difference to the layers. And you can also see that I'm using a different stroke for this. So where before I was going up and down, this way I'm going left and right. And that will just add another contrast. And if I show you a close-up, you can probably see that a little bit clearer. And once I've done that first layer, I'm just going to let that dry and then add a little bit more of that red paint. So once that red layer was finished and you've just got different opacities going, and all you had to do was layer it up in different thickness, which is great fun. But now I just want to add a little bit of this orange, which is an iridescent colour, so we'll get a little bit of sparkle. But instead of using a flat brush for this, I'm going to use a round brush because I just want it to go on a little bit thicker and just give it a slightly different look to the layer that's underneath. And with the round brush, I'll get nice rounded edges to them rather than those straight edges that you get with the flat brush. But I don't want this layer to completely cover my red, so I am going to do a little bit of scraping back with just a plastic card. And you can probably guess that for this piece I was working towards a focal point. I mean, it kind of needs a focal point, doesn't it? So what I'm going to use for that is the butterflies that I designed for my patrons over on Patreon. Now my original thought was that I would use this big butterfly on its own, but then I started playing around with the other butterfly as well, and I thought, well, actually that kind of works as well. So then I went into a whole area of indecision and trying to work out which I preferred. If you like these butterflies, then you can get them over on my Patreon page. Just become a patron. Thanks for watching my video today. If you enjoyed it, please do like it and subscribe and all the usual things. And you know that I am massively appreciative of everyone who does that, so thank you. I'm going to be back in a few days' time. Have a really creative few days until then. Bye.